Not on the spot or anything.
Yeah. Namaste. It's nice to see all of you here this evening. So I know this class is about you guys tonight, but I'm going to talk about me for a moment, okay? And you'll know why that's ironic in a moment. But it's interesting that the other day I was working on the computer, and the computer alone makes my heart race a little bit because I get very frustrated being on it a lot of times. Things don't always work out the way that I want them to, so I'll click on something and a whole page will disappear, or I'll try to download something and it says error and I have no idea why, and I start wanting to pull up my hair. And so just a couple days ago I was trying to download some things to YouTube, and I don't really know much about this process except that I just kind of figured out, maybe I do it like this and do it like that. So I start kind of following some guidelines and I'm doing certain things, and all of a sudden it uploads onto my page, except for the fact that it says it was only able to download a certain portion of it. And it was a 30-minute video. And I was thinking, okay, well, that's interesting that only 10 minutes was able to be downloaded on this, okay. Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't figure it out, so then I was irritated that I couldn't delete it off of my account. And so I was getting really frustrated by this. And as I'm kind of working myself up, you can hear Greg scuttling around out into the living room because he scuttles. And then I said, I think I need your help, And he's like, okay. So he comes on in, and I said, I don't know what I did. I don't know why I can't download this. I don't know what's going on. And it's not like he has any more experience in the area than I do, but for some reason I'm like, I just need your help. And so we kind of start working through it together, and instead of, appreciating this fact, I got a little bit irritated because he says, well, why don't you just divide the video into 3 different segments, so that if it's obviously only uploading 10 minutes of it, do it in thirds, right? No, I don't want to do it in thirds. Thirds doesn't make any sense. I just want to have it all in one, and I'm getting irritated and frustrated, and I'm like, okay, I'll just figure it out. So then I go onto YouTube, which I'm already on, and I Google or YouTube how to upload videos longer than 10 minutes. And you can't. And so what they suggest is to break it up into sections.
Oh, no.
So I sent him away, and as I had, you could feel the tension in the room, and in fact, you'd probably see it if you walked into our house. So I realized that I clearly was in the wrong. So I sort of sat there, and I felt really deflated, and I was like, this is going to suck when I have to apologize. But I thought 2 things. I can either keep myself in this rigid, irritated state, or I could say, you know what, I was wrong. So I sucked it up, and I sat in my chair. And I went out and I apologized.
Is that true?
I did, yeah, I did. And sometimes I have a hard time saying sorry. Sometimes I have a hard time admitting that I'm wrong. And it's because I have an ego. And my ego stops me from sometimes doing the right thing. In relationships, I've realized that whether it's your friend or whether it's your partner or spouse, if you have an ego, the relationship's going to be really difficult. And it's not to say that you won't ever have an issue with that, but to apologize or to admit that maybe you don't know, or maybe I didn't know, or that I was wrong, and that I didn't need to be so egotistical and make it like he wasn't right, that the situation could have been completely different. And it's interesting because I watched something on the news the other day about the fighting that's going on in Jerusalem about different religious groups that believe that certain land is theirs. And I know it's sort of obscure from what we're saying, but I boiled it down to ego. That even though I have an ego in my own home, and I'm like, wow, this is how I acted, imagine if something meant 1,000 times more to you. How would we react? Would we forget that we're all deeply connected to one another? That you and I are exactly the same? Or would we try to prove that you are wrong and I am right, even if maybe there is no right and wrong in that situation? And so in yoga, the ego is looked at to minimize, not to totally destroy, because we need the ego to have a sense of determination, to be able to have a little bit of
ambition and motivation in our lives, it helps us to become better people. But too much ego causes there to be a separation. You and I are no longer connected, is what we're trying to do in yoga. The term is to unite and to bring together. What happens is I am me, and you are you, and I am right, and you are wrong. And therefore, nothing you do ends up being in union with me. And so there's that division. And so what we're trying to do is minimize our ego. And as you move in the class today, it's yoga for strength, not yoga, let me see how far I can push myself so I hurt myself class, okay? So let's see if we can kind of pull back on that a little bit and just see where it takes us. So let's come to our comfortable seated position, sitting up nice and tall. Let your shoulders roll back and your heart is open and the eyes can drift closed.